Delighted to say we are joined by Steve Parrish. Now, Steve, just behind you, you've got a lovely row of your helmets that you rode on your bike, and you've got a strong affiliation, obviously, with Silverstone. Take me back, if you can, to the first time you went to Silverstone. What were you doing there? Why were you there?
Right. I don't know if I can tell you, actually, because the first time I went to Silverstone was to watch a motorcycle race. I was just on the cusp of starting amateur club racing, I guess you'd say. And I'm going to hazard a guess it was about 1972, before most people were ever born, of course. And I went with a bunch of mates because Mike Hailwood was making a bit of a comeback and he was racing. And there was all these famous names and people that I was in awe of and wanted to be. And I never actually saw the entrance to Silverstone because I was in the boot of a car because I couldn't afford to pay to go in. So, sorry, Silverstone, I probably owe you 10 bob or something like that, or whatever it was to get in. It wouldn't have been very much, I'm sure, but I was in the back of a Rover 90 with one mate driving. In fact, there was two of us in the boot because we couldn't afford to pay to get in. So we got in there and then they opened the boot up, fortunately, and we sat on the grass and we watched some tremendous racing. So maybe that's where my love of Silverstone came from. It was the fact that I got in to watch Mike Hailwood race for nothing. But I love Silverstone, I always have. It's arguably my local circuit, I guess. It's 45 minutes away or something like that. And I truly love the old circuit. I'm not saying I don't love the new one, but the old circuit was just so special. I know it was an old airfield opened in 1946, I think, but it was so fast. It had so many challenging, demanding, bumpy corners on it. And I loved it when I first raced on my 250 Yamaha. The Maggots and Abbey, and they were fifth gear. There was no chicanes and slow corners at all. It was just tremendous. And I loved it from that point on all the way through. And then my biggest tragedy, and I'm sure you've heard this before because I never seem to stop talking about it. I nearly won the British Grand Prix there in 1977, leading it with about one lap to go, actually. I went across the start and finish line, one lap to go, and stupidly already thinking what I was going to do with the prize money and the big trophy and all the things that came with it, like winning your home Grand Prix, which is a dream. And to this day, no British rider has ever won the Silverstone Grand Prix. Even the great Barry Sheene didn't win it. He finished close second to Kenny. So anyway, I went over the start and finish line to start the last lap, and it started drizzling with rain. And I was the first one to get to Copse Corner, and down I went, and I slid down the track and went under the straw bales thinking I was dead, but then a marshal pulled a bale off my head. And then John Williams, another British rider who sadly got killed, went on to inherit the lead, and he went to the next corner and crashed. An American Pat Henner went on to win it. So yeah, and the funny part about the story is, and again, I'm not sure if I should be able to say this, but as I went over to start the last lap, Barry Sheene had grabbed my pit board from my mechanic, and back then they were chalk pit boards. You didn't have all these big flashy fluorescent numbers. It was just a piece of chalk and a backboard, and Barry Sheene had written on it and hung it out, and I did see it as I went over the finish line. And it said, "Gas it, WANKER." And I did. I gassed it and fell off. And so I probably was a WANKER because I crashed leading the Grand Prix. So there you go. I could have been famous. I could have been famous, Jenny. But I walked back to the pits, very disappointed with myself and everything else, and got fired by the Suzuki team manager. So anyway, never mind. All these things are sent to try us, but it was great. And I still love going to Silverstone. I raced there many times after that. Crashed in '79 when Mick Grant on the famous four-cylinder, four-stroke Honda did a wheelie off the line, all the oil came out, and I hit the oil and crashed on that. But I've had some good results there in other classes and still love it. Still go for track days now and again, and it's gorgeous, and may it continue being that way.
Steve, tell me about the fans at Silverstone, because they're such an integral part of a race weekend and of British motorsports.
The facts, I think, are that it's got everything, Silverstone, certainly in the circuit-wise. Most of the riders love going there. And it sort of suits every bike because it's got fast straights and it's also got lots of corners and good passing places. And a lot of riders go, and car drivers, that mean, it's got nowhere to pass. But Silverstone has got 8 places to pass. So it should always make a great race because, whatever happens, there's room to get through, as we've seen so many times in these classic, amazing races, even on the last corner. So that's probably what makes it quite unique. I don't know who designed it actually, but whoever did a really good job on it. And there's been some issues, we know, with the surface and everything else. I feel very sorry for Silverstone having to resurface it twice in about 2 years. But the fact of the matter is, it makes for great, great racing. Some of the spectators say, oh, we're too far away and we're so on and so on. But again, modern day circuits have to have big runoff areas. It's part of the scene now. Bikes are going so fast, 230 miles an hour and things like that. You've got to have the runoff areas. But from the rider's point of view, from the team's point of view, it's fabulous and can't be beaten as far as I'm concerned. But that's me being patriotic.
And what about the spectators? You talk about them there. They're great, aren't they? The noise of them when they're supporting you must be incredible.
Yeah, any circuits like that. And I guess the only sad part we've got now, we haven't got a British rider in MotoGP this year. That's the downside. But we've inherited Jack Miller, who's winning the last 2 races, of course. And he started off in the UK and he's a great lad. So we're going to have to inherit him. Sadly, Valentino Rossi's a bit off the boil, but there's some fabulous racing going on and the crowd will be enthralled by what's going on. We're a bit like last year. You wouldn't have a clue who's going to win the championship this year. I think Silverstone's round 12. And I truly believe even by round 12, we won't have a clue who's going to win it. It's going to be one of those years, ups and downs and everything else. We've got, of course, Sam Lowe's in Moto 2, so everyone will be along cheering him. I'm quite sure about it. But I don't know, that some of the grassy banks at Silverstone, let's hope the sun is shining. There's some spectacular corners to watch on and see what's going on and watch the skill and the bravery, I guess, of the modern day riders. They've got better protection these days, but boy, the bikes are so fast and they sound so good. I'm obviously very, very passionate about it, but MotoGP is the best at the moment. I'm really pleased to say also that it's going to be on free-to-air telly, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. ITV4 are taking it on. I think it's on ITV1 actually, which is absolutely brilliant. So we'll get some great viewing figures. I know that. And BT have done a good job, but they can't obviously compete with free-to-air telly. So it's great news for all the fans that can't make it to Silverstone to be able to watch it.
Steve, it's always a pleasure to chat to you. Thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you at Silverstone someday soon.
Let's hope so. And we'll have a sun oil on, I'm hoping as well. So great. Lovely, Jenny. Nice talking to you.